Welcome to GrandOldTeam.
Hmm.
Everton have continued their perfect start to the season by beating Joey Barton's Fleetwood Town by 5 goals to 2.
Yes.
And stats, if Everton Stato has it right, that's the first time Everton have won 5-2 back to back for the first time in their history.
Well, I
Um,
can't argue with that. I don't go that far back, I have to say.
Right,
Um,
little interesting gold nugget there for you. Two
hey,
goals
Cal.
Two goals from Richarlison, a goal from
Yes.
Alex Iwobi, Bernard and Moise Keane saw the Blues comfortably secure their place in the fourth round of the League Cup. Joining me for this one is the legendary broadcaster Elton Welsby, who I know when we last spoke had a lot of confidence in Carlo Ancelotti to get the side
Yes.
playing the style of football that we're seeing today. So, good evening, Elton. I'm very pleased that you can join me for this one. What were your
It's a
thoughts on
pleasure.
tonight's game?
It's a very good night to join you, isn't it? Because I mean, it was like watching Barcelona, Brazil, and Man City all rolled into one at times. It was super. It was the kind of football that I was brought up on, back in the '60s, and then there's a little bit of the wait till the Championship team of 1970, and then Howard team of 85, 86, 87. Marvelous, marvelous.
Aye, and now,
Played
and
with style and a panache. It was great to see.
yeah, some brilliant pass and move football, especially in that first half. We were
Yeah.
just absolutely dominant.
And
Before
let's not
we,
forget, it was done without our so-called three key signings,
no,
Alan, Torre, and James. So it
exactly,
shows you that what Carlo said to them at the end of the last season was, right, go away, have a break, and come back with more desire. That's basically what it is. And also, he added these three key players, absolutely key. And what that's done, apart from it, it's like a verbal warning to the likes of Sigurdsson, Bernard, Iwobi. I could go on, and it was a warning to them. And also, like, look what I can bring in. You know,
yeah, yeah,
you've got real competition for places. Although I tell you what, Max, in that midfield uh, that we finished last season with, you and I could go in midfield. Couldn't have been any worse. It was shocking. It was deplorable. But now it's almost like a complete transformation under Ancelotti. Yes, we haven't won anything yet. I know that. But as Evertonians, we have always wanted style. And that's what we've got now. We've got style. When I first started watching this season, I thought I was dreaming. I really did. No, it's very, very heartening. I'm not saying we're going to win anything. I would something like the League Cup would be realistic. A top six finish is realistic. But if we keep building on what we've got now, I mean, maybe it's not going to be, you know, a long, long time away. I do, and I don't think we'll do a Leicester, and I don't think Leicester will do a Leicester. I don't think anyone will do a Leicester now. I think it's going to be, the money-bagged clubs at the top, as they are now, who will be competing for the championship. But as long as we put a good fist to it and entertain, entertainers, please, and they are doing, and it's
yes,
very, very heartwarming to watch it now.
most definitely the School of Science. Now, initially, after thinking would have been a B team for the cup games and the A team for the league, Carlo yet again showed me that I know nothing about football, and I think there were 7 changes from the team that played against Salford in the earlier round.
Yeah.
I was disappointed not to see Anthony Gordon and Moise Keane start. But you've said there, starting the likes of Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Do you think that's a statement as to how seriously we'll be taking this competition this season?
I don't think there's any doubt as to how seriously we take competition. It can't exhaust the players. I mean, don't forget, this is an 8-month season, whereas it used to be a 9-month season. So there's going to be a lot of games in a short period of time. So he's got to rotate. But there's one thing, as you say, how many regular, six was there? Who you would say would be in our Premier League team? Off the top of my head, I'll work it out. But let's say that. I mean, you compare it to some of the other clubs going in, that they're making just wholesale changes. They're changing 11, resting 11 and bringing 11 rookies in. I don't think that's not Everton's way. It has been under certain managers, but excuse me, I don't believe that's Ancelotti's way. And we'll continue in this vein. I think the team he played tonight, for example, is certainly good enough to beat West Ham, because they won't be, playing their A team, as it were, and then whoever we get after that. But it's almost like once you get to the semi-finals, for example, you get through the quarters and you're in the semis. All of a sudden, that Wembley is beckoning. You can smell the hot dogs outside of Wembley, and that's when we might start seeing, all of them play. The likes of Alan, Decore, and James, will be featured. They'll want to feature when it gets, to that stage of the competition, because everyone, fans, the manager, the players, everyone, wants to go to the showpiece final at Wembley.
Yeah, and I mean, I touch wood, fans are able to get there if the restrictions are lifted by that time.
They won't be. That was the kind of slip of the tongue. That was a cliche without sort of getting my head around the fact that we're in a very, very precarious state as a country at the moment. And yeah, you're quite right. I mean, the fans, though, will congregate round the tellies, be socially distanced, of course, in the pubs, as it, and watch it on the telly if indeed we get there. I mean, it's not. I don't know when the date for the final is has been finalised. I really don't know.
No, it doesn't spring to mind, but it is usually midway through the season.
March, isn't it? Late March.
It's midway through the season usually.
Yeah. So if you think 6 months from now, I suppose, if things go well, which they won't, which there isn't. I
know. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is Everton. This is Everton that we're talking about after all. But yes, you touched on it there. Some of the changes that we did make. Iwobi coming in, Bernard, Sigurdsson. I think Bernard for me was my man of the match tonight. He was pulling the strings in the midfield there. Who impressed you?
But he had a terrific game, and that's mainly because, as you said, he played more inside. He wasn't restricted to like a wing position, and he looked like a Brazilian footballer. But as far as man of the match is concerned, I just say Nkounkou was just unbelievable. We paid £250,000 compensation for him. 250. What did Ben Chilwell go from Leicester to Chelsea for? Was it something like 50 million, wasn't it? 50 million. Can't tell me there's like £49.5 million difference between those two. Good heavens. I thought he was terrific. I had to tweet at one point, and I tweeted, we've got Usain Bolt at left back. Phenomenal. Oh, he is a player. He really is a top class player. It's a pity that we've got another top class player in his position, in Lucadinha. So we've got Digne and Nkounkou. Looks like they will be playing for one position. Now, whether Carlo sees one of the two of them slightly more forward, and he can play the two of them, I don't know. I mean, he tried Digne at centre back tonight. He wasn't really tested in that position, although he didn't stand out. So I don't know. I think this Nkounkou has got a big future. Big future.
Yeah, most definitely. And just on that, I think that's really interesting. of Luca Dean to be stepping into that centre-back position. Obviously, he did so when Jared Brantwaite went out injured. But I really think that speaks to his leadership ability and his leadership qualities after being at the club, not longer than a season. What are your thoughts on him?
On Dean?
Mm.
Is it Dean or Dina? I bet it's Dina, and people call him Dean. But anyway, I think he's as good a left back as there is in the Premier League. In terms of his assists, he's probably the best. Assists, and, crosses, creating chances. I mean, he's head and shoulders above everybody, creating chances. And then, but he's still, I think, top of the charts when it comes to assists from that position. I think he's a terrific player.
Yeah.
Terrific player. I mean, how does Nkounkou get in there?
I know.
He can play centre. Mind you, he's got the pace and the strength to play left wing.
Interesting. I could see that.
Well, it is. It's just interesting. The fact that we're talking like this. I mean, a few months ago, weeks ago, really, we were listing players who we wanted out of the club because they disgraced the shirt they played in. And those players, quite a few of whom played tonight at some stage. And, the effort was there, whereas it palpably was not once football resumed last season after lockdown. They just didn't give a damn. I'll name them, I'm not bothered. They just didn't give a damn. They seem to have a different mental attitude now.
Yeah.
It looks like they care. Whereas when last season resumed, it looked like they didn't care.
Yep. And I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think for these players, competition for places just does everybody the world of good. It certainly lit a fire under some of these players, the likes of Iwobi, Sigurdsson. Did any of the fringe players involved tonight push themselves in a potential opportunity for a starting place?
Well, you mentioned sort of midfielders there, really, and they say would they force themselves into the side ahead of Alan, Doucouré, or James? And the answer to that question, no chance. No chance.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Now, it has to be mentioned, even if I am a huge fan of his, the Jordan Pickford errors, which led to Fleetwood's goals. As England's number one, I feel like, as many others who came before him, he's under an immense deal of scrutiny. Some of who label him as a liability in the side now. You've told me about the team of the 60s. You've obviously seen, the terrific Gordon West. You'll have seen Southall for all those years. What do you make of Jordan Pickford?
Well, he is prone to mistakes, and when he makes a mistake, it always seems to end up as a goal. It's a shame, really. When you think about it, strikers make mistakes. It's forgotten in seconds, isn't it? Really. When a goalkeeper makes a mistake, they'll be talking about it. The commentators will be talking about it for about 5 minutes. So I think it's very unfortunate. You won't find Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp criticising their goalkeeper for getting caught when playing out from the back. They will not criticise their keeper. And they're great, great managers, as is Carlo. And I sincerely hope Carlo would follow suit there and not blame Pickford for the first goal, because he was trying to do what Carlo wants, and that's play out from the back. He got caught. Big deal. I, for one, say that doesn't matter. At least he's trying to do what the manager wants him to do. And I don't think you should be crucified for that. Not at all. As for the second goal, I heard someone say that, must have been one of the commentators said something, well, Pickford, will be thinking he might have done better there. A guy does an overhead kick, from almost point blank range. I mean, Pickford very nearly stopped it. I would not pick on him tonight. I wouldn't. I know he's easy fodder, and you know the snipers have got him in the old crosshairs, especially on Twitter. There doesn't seem to be anyone on Twitter that I see who will give Pickford the time of day. But I think those two, those two goals that Fleetwood scored tonight, I would not be sticking. Oh well, it would have been 5-0 if it wasn't for Pickford. No, not for me. I'd say you think about it. Guardiola, Klopp, their goalkeeper playing from the back gets caught. It's happened. Last season it happened to both of them, you think about it. And they don't get, Guardiola especially, he says, no, that's what I want. That's what I want them. Yeah, they will. They will get caught out every now and again. If it's every week, then it's a problem. But it's every now and again. And for that reason, where a player, rather than just, put the laces through the ball and kick it into Rose Ed or just hoist it up front for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if the instruction is play out from the back, they're attack. You might, if you look at it more closely, you might say, well, maybe the players that he was hoping to pass to weren't in a particularly good position. I don't know. I'd have to see that back. But I wouldn't have a go at it for that. I wouldn't.
Okay.
I'm sure 80% will, but I'm not one of those.
Good. I'm not one of those either. I'm a big fan of his. I do have a lot of faith in him. I feel like, as a shot stopper, reaction wise, I do think he can be absolutely sensational at times. And again, it's just those sort of
a couple of really good saves tonight, didn't he? For that shot stopping, getting away. I'm not for one of those. Let's get a different goalkeeper in. He's a disaster. I don't believe he is. I do believe he makes more mistakes than he should. Now, all we've got to do is somehow get that proneness out of him. How you do that, I don't know. I'm not a goalkeeping coach or a football manager, but we haven't gone past the point of no return for Jordan Pickford. No chance.
Fair assessment. I'm glad you said that as well. Now, I found quite an interesting stat today as well. Once Richarlison scored that header, that was his 30th. Well, he went on to score his 31st, but at the time it was his 30th goal for Everton and his 9th header. For a lad that is, obviously now unsure of where he quite slots in, whether it's out wide, whether it's up front. Obviously, we seem to have a great deal of fluidity in our play now, being able to either, Dominic Calvert-Lewin comes off, put him in that central role, where he can adopt more responsibility and have more opportunities to score goals. I feel like for tally, I think that's absolutely brilliant. So just on Richarlison, what do you think?
Well, for a start, I mean, Dominic, I'm a big fan of Calvert-Lewin's TCL. I'm a big fan. I would leave him exactly to do what he's doing and what he's been doing. As for Richarlison, I think if the support wide, both wide areas is up to scratch, which, let's face it, on the left, we got no problems there. On the right, maybe that needs to be tinkered with somehow. But I don't see any harm in Richarlison starting wherever and then moving, drifting inside, basically playing with his gut feeling. Where should I go? I'll go there. I'm not supposed to be going there. Not really, but I will anyway. That sort of thing. I think he's got more likely to be a bit off the cuff. I would say Hammers fits into that category as well. You don't want to tie him down to doing certain things. He's got an uncanny ability to find space that he gets into without he's not the fastest in the world, but finding space, and he will find that space. And you probably ask him, how do you get into that position? He probably couldn't tell you. It's instinct.
Yeah.
And he will do that. And I think to a lesser extent, maybe, that Richarlison in a more forward position could be given the same kind of, license, if you want. So in other words, you've got 8 outfield players who are in a position that they shouldn't really vacate. They should stay there, or that's their starting point, if you like. Whereas Richarlison and James, you say, well, they've got the great ability of getting into position, irrespective of what anyone else is doing, and they've almost got, the green light to do that. I don't see why not. I don't.
I think that bodes extremely well for the squad to have those players with the creative license and the free will to be able to just bend convention a little bit, go against.
Bend convention. That's not a bad way of putting it at all. If you think that Decore and Alan are so disciplined and workaholics, they really are, with abundance of ability too. You can afford, in a couple of areas for players to be, if loose cannon's not quite right, but the Maverick, that's probably not right either. But free spirits, that is probably closer to the mark. To be more of a free spirit. In other words, you've got the instincts of a top-class footballer. Use them.
Fair shout. Now, to look at wrapping up now, 4 games, 4 wins, 18 goals. Presumably, we'll go back to our strongest 11.
Rubbish.
Presumably,
great to watch. It's been great to watch.
It is. Presumably, we'll go back to our strongest 11 for Palace on the weekend, who have also started the season excellently. And I mean, you've sung their praises, but just to get your thoughts, how would you describe the impact of James Rodriguez, Abdoulaye Doucouré, and Alan since they've come into that midfield?
Massive, and not just on the pitch. They clearly have got a great presence in the dressing room. I could see certainly Doucouré or Alan, if they thought someone like Sigurdsson, sorry to keep mentioning it, but I was so disgusted with the way he played. I don't mind. That was last season, once football had resumed. I thought he was an embarrassment, to be truthful. But I wouldn't be surprised Doucouré or Alan if Sigurdsson was like idling, whether it be in training or on the pitch. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them didn't go up to him and sort of point a finger in his eye and sort of say, "Hey, come on, buck up, get going."
Yeah, I can see that, and I've got to ask, Alan, Brazilian Peter Reid, do you see the resemblance?
Yeah, I think Alan really had that instinct we've been talking about. He'd find himself in great positions, really, because he knew where to be. I'm not sure Alan has quite got that, but I think Alan has certainly got. He's got a terrific engine. I think he might be faster than Reedy, and I really wouldn't mind me saying that. Not the fastest there's ever been. I think Alan is quicker. No, I wouldn't mind a midfield with the two of them in, I'll tell you.
Aye, that'd be good. That'd be great. Now, as always, it's an absolute pleasure to talk with you, and the invitation's always there if you ever want to come on and talk about football with me. Everybody, thanks for listening. Make sure to check out GrandOldTeam. Take care. Up the toffees. Brilliant.
Very much so. Up the toffees. Blues.